The Tornado F.3 is finally here, and with it brings a new variant of the Skyflash radar missile to the British tech tree, the Skyflash Super Temp. We'll get into how the Super Temp is different in a bit. Along with the Skyflash, it also introduces the AIM 9L Sidewinders, four of them, as compared to the two on the Tornado GR1. Having played this plane, I can say that the Tornado F3, while I feel was added a little bit late, is a breath of fresh air for the British fighter meta. The interesting part about the Tornado F3 is that it flies like a phantom on steroids. It still can't compete in turn fights compared to the F-16 and MiG-29, but it can start competing with the likes of the MiG-23 and F-14 in some cases when it comes to dogfights. The AI-24 Fox Hunter Type W radar acts like the Phantom's FG-1's radar that it only has head-on pulse Doppler mode, but introduces a track-wheel scan capability, a solid upgrade over the AWG-11. Another noteworthy feature of the Tornado F3 is the countermeasures. It's not as much as the Harrier, but it can mount 320 countermeasures in the missile rails like the ones you see on the Harrier, on top of the 32 large caliber countermeasures mounted on the fuselage. This is a bit similar to the Phantom FG-1 that has the most countermeasures among the Phantoms at 90. Uh, well, I'm gonna be transparent here. All Phantoms except the F4J have 90 countermeasures, but I digress. 90 is the most countermeasures a Phantom in-game can carry. The Tornado F3 feels a lot like a very upgraded British Phantom in performance. While I do miss the 20mm Vulcan gun on the SUU-16A gun pod on the on the Phantom FG-1, because the Tornado F3 uses one 27mm Mauser BK-27, I feel like I'm forced to use the gun less often as I did in the F4 Phantoms. I use the gun on the Phantom FG-1 because either my missiles have failed or the target is maneuvering, or I've run out of sky flashes and the target is heading me on. Since the Tornado F3 has 4 all-aspect 9Ls along with 4 sky flash missiles, heading on is a bit too easy now compared to the FG-1, and since the AIM-9L maneuvers like 30G, it has considerably more range than the 9G, the AIM-9L does the job more often, leaving me with no need to use the gun at all. On top of that, you really don't want to get into dogfights often with a Tornado F3. It still doesn't have the maneuvering capability of stuff like the MiG-21, MiG-29, and the F-16, and going into maneuver fight with them will prove difficult, if not impossible. The Tornado F3 is one plane you like to play pretty much like a coward. You go in, throw some 9Ls at unsuspecting players, and if someone looks at you, throw a sky flash at them. Don't get into missile jousts, because the 7F and the R-24s and 27s are far faster than the sky flash, and you will either lose or end up in a draw. As much as possible, the sky flash is to be used at opponents that are already preoccupied with another teammate. This plays into the coward playstyle. The Skyflash Super Temp is the new variant of the Skyflash added for the Tornado F3. It's the same in lock range and maximum range as the base Skyflash and pulls pretty much the same. However, the Super Temp can reach a higher top speed compared to the base Skyflash. A difference of a shocking and unbelievable 0.4 Mach. The Skyflash base model maxes out at 4.0 Mach, and the Skyflash Super Temp maxes out at 4.4 Mach and is 12 kilograms heavier than the base Skyflash. Still pulls 25G, although it has better aerodynamics to achieve the 25G pull more often. Make no mistake, the Skyflash Super Temp is no AIM-7F, but it's better to have it as it's a good complement to the AIM-9Ls. Currently, there's a bug going on where the Skyflash won't spool up even if you're tracking something, and that's one of the few things holding the missile back. I'm not sure whether there's a problem with the Skyflash Super Temp or the Fox Hunter radar, but I've since reported the issue and I'm hopeful it gets fixed quick. The problem shows up when you use trackwell scan and you lock onto a target using trackwell scan. So it pretends like the missile can't be spooled up. It's like even though it says track on the radar HUD, the the missile acts like you haven't tracked anything. So that's the problem. Like the Tornado IDS is in game, the Tornado F3 has wing-mounted fuel tanks that give the Tornado F3 around 25 minutes of fuel. However, the afterburner chews through fuel fast, and as such, the fuel tank is depleted quite quickly, so it never becomes a hindrance when the aircrafts actually start meeting each other. The ideal fuel scheme is 30 minutes on the main tanks as to not bog the fighter down so much with weight if it takes somewhere around the maximum 50 minutes of fuel. 30 minutes on top of the 25 minutes on the fuel tanks is more than enough for pretty much any air RB match, even with the larger map sizes. Unless you plan on loitering around, but you know, it's pretty much enough. If you're transitioning to the Tornado F3 from the Phantoms, you're gonna see a giant improvement. It's the same BR as the FG1 and FGR2, so it's pretty much the same matchmaker, but the F3 has better equipment, like the 9Ls and the Skyflash Super Temp. The Tornado F3 is a capable fighter, but not a superior fighter compared to the F-16 or the MiG-29. It can hold its own but not outperform the Gen 4s like the F-16 or the MiG-29. However, I still love the Tornado F-3 to death, not only because of the improvements but the challenges it brings fighting F-16s and MiG-29s. Should you get it? Well, if you want to get out of the British Phantom rut, or just want a really sleek looking fighter to break the monotony of F-16s and MiG-29s, well, the Tornado F3 is for you. There's not much deviation in the playstyle, and it'll be pretty familiar, a bit, except it's just way better. But if you go in expecting a show-stopping British F-14, you'll find yourself disappointed in a lot of aspects. The F-3 is good, but it's a plane you really gotta play like a coward, because it just won't keep up with the Apex Predators in a direct confrontation. The AIM-7F, AIM-7M, Super 530, and R-27 are all just that better. But this is far from the end of the Tornado F3 story. The Tornado F3 went a capability sustainment program in the late 90s to incorporate ASRAMs and AMRAMs, so there is a possibility that the F3 will get it retroactively, or a separate vehicle, probably named the Tornado F3 CSP, will be an entirely different vehicle in the future. The F3's future is bright, and I don't think people should be quick to count this one out just because planes like the F-16 and MiG-29 exist. Again, thank you for watching. This is the Dr. MD. Godspeed.